speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Who you with, Kirk? I'm out. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm welcome to speak. Welcome to speak. Welcome to speak. I'm 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 who you with, Kirk, dog? Who you with, Kirk, dog? Man, this has been a great year so far. It's Thursday night. Want to welcome everyone on Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, there I go. I messed up. Stop it, risk. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. D Live is always in the house, and also our audience on Anchor.fm. It's Thursday night. You know what time it is. My girl's in the house. We've been talking about the show for some time. Our last show of the year, and we saved this one for the best. We're going to be talking about black laws versus white laws. Now, some people feel like it's not a difference in it, but it is. So, without further ado, my little sister, Miss Risky. What's going on, Miss Risky?
Nothing much.
Boy, you be breaking my spirit sometimes.
Listen, my apartments broke my spirits today.
Oh
They
Lord.
decided to, I guess, power wash the carports with no notice. And so we have like no parking, like free parking spots. So we had to get creative with our parking and, got nervous when I saw the tow truck taking cars away. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Are you taking cars? They're like, we're not towing them. We're just relocating them so we can power wash. And then they're doing it, painting tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I won't be here tomorrow, so I'm good. But yeah, it was interesting just because I could see my car from the patio, and I saw that tow truck near my car because I was at the fire entrance. So I was like, uh oh.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you towing? No, okay.
one of the worst feelings you can ever get. I remember back in the days, I was actually, um, I stayed in these apartment complex. Well, I was running inside real quick. Wasn't no parking right up front, so I was running inside real quick, and so I parked in the apartment complex next door. And as soon as I got in, I heard, I said, I know that ain't my car. Ran out there, it was my car. I said, now, God damn. So I ended up having to pay the guy to take my payment off the hooks. Yeah, I said the Plymouth. It will say Plymouth. The Plymouth with the big one, the huge back window in it, the hatchback. So, but it was a good car. It got me from point A to point B. Welcome to the show, SAL out of Florida. I forgot, out of Florida. Welcome to the show. What's up with you? She's a beast in the transportation industry. Um, so tonight, well, let me ask you a question. What time of day were they doing this? Because they just gonna come out, remove cars, don't say nothing.
Yeah, and like one of the, I guess, I don't know what she was. She was like supervising, um, and just making sure that the cars, like, and then the tow company that you were using they were abusing these cars. I was like, oh yeah, you ain't touching my car. Skid marks everywhere. They were dropping things, and I'm like, oh Lord. But my car was fine. They were just trying to move them from the carport so they can access them. But yeah, they gave no notification, at all. And I guess it's an all day thing, from 8 to 6, and then tomorrow they're gonna paint from 8 to 6.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that's
and the
jacked
crazy
up.
thing is, like, what the problem is like, why are you doing them all at once? Like, usually you do them in segments, but they're doing big blocks, and it's just all over the place. So, but
Well,
my
that's
car was fine. Nobody touched my car, so that was fine.
that's a good thing. Um, well, we actually have a great show in store for everyone. If you are tuning in, if it's your first time, please take the time to
What are
like.
you flipping, homeboy?
Oh, you
All I
seen
hear is
that?
just papers or something.
Well, that's my notes. I had printed them off. I can have them in front of me. Uh, no, we can
But it
get
didn't sound. It was like hurting my ears, and I'm sure everybody else's ears. Whatever you were
I
doing,
didn't hear it, so
I
my
was
mic a
like,
little bit sensitive tonight. Think I've been using it too much, but uh, so we've been talking about the show for a while now, due to some of the stories that we talk about and some of the trolls that actually comes into the show and pay attention. They say it's no difference between black laws and white laws, and we say it is a difference. We see a difference in it because of that amount of time between the two that we get. Um, so we're gonna hit on that tonight. You can actually chat live with us in the comment and be a part of the show. Interact with us. That's what the show is all about. You may not agree with everything that we're saying, but if you are following me on Facebook, um, you can see I put all our resources on my page. You can click on the resource yourself and read it for yourself. And
no onion, no snoops, none of that.
none of that. It's straight up resources from reliable resources. Um, and also, before we get too far, this is the last show of the year, but we have a contest going on. We're going to do a drawing. Um, Probably when we come
The
back off,
31st
we're gonna
is
do the
the end
drawing.
of the contest, so we'll do it around then.
Okay,
I
so
think that's what the flyer said.
something like that. But we're gonna do it in the contest end on the 31st. How you get your name in that drawing to win a prize, which we have some great prizes that is sponsored by Miss Risky and the show. Um, you can win the prize by going to YouTube. Go to YouTube, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and make a comment on the video saying speak on it.
Hashtag speak
Um,
on it. And then also
Speak
you
on
can
it.
go to at RSKEE on Instagram and do the same thing. Hashtag speak on it, so we'll know who is participating in the contest.
Yes, and please do not just make comments on these pages and think we don't know if you subscribed or not, because we know. I get a message as soon as you do it. So definitely do that, and then if you are new, go to all our social media page and do it. We're gonna write the names down, put them in a bucket, draw it out, and announce the winners. And we'll send you the gifts. So, but you have to do it, and that's what we're looking at doing. So definitely be a part of it. It's really great gifts. I think it is, and it'll be interesting. So definitely do that. As soon as you do it, I do get a message. So don't lie. Um,
But tonight we're going to go ahead and get it started talking about black laws and white laws. And we're actually going to discuss that. And hopefully it would open people's eyes to it, the difference between our justice system based upon the color of your skin.
Yeah, and it's gonna be kind of technical. I'll try not to make it so boring and history lesson like, but it's a long research. We'll try to break it up for you for comments. But initially, let's see, this one's going to be based on a Stanford University study on traffic stops. The researchies, researchers studied nearly 100 million traffic stops and found Black motorists are more likely to be pulled over. Traffic stops from around the country has concluded that on average, Black drivers are 20% more likely to get pulled over than white drivers. And this is based on traffic stops from 21 state patrol agencies, 29 municipal police departments between the years 2001 and 2017. The results, which reflect experiences that have long been shared by people of color, revealed an observable racial bias in both traffic stops and subsequent decisions to conduct vehicle searches. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health states that Black Americans are 3.23 times more likely than white Americans to be killed by police officers, according to their research. They examined 5,494 police related deaths in the United States between 2013 and 2017. The rates of deadly police encounters were higher in the West and South than in the Midwest, West, and Northeast, and that's according to their studies. Racial disparities in killing by police varied widely across the country, with some metropolitan areas showing very high differences between treatments by race. Black Chicagoans, for example, were found to be over 650% more likely to be killed by police officers than their white counterparts. In another study in 2018, Black people were arrested 5 times more than white people in the United States. In 250 jurisdictions, Blacks were 10 times more likely to be arrested than whites. The review examined arrest data over a 3-year period of time ending in 2018. And that was, at that time, the most recent statistics available. In a report by Joshua Redden Miller, law enforcement system is states that law enforcement system is systematically racist. There's almost no consequences to abusing, bullying, offending, or killing Black people and some minorities. Yes, there are laws that are supposed to be upheld, and we are all supposed to be protected under that umbrella. Unfortunately, that umbrella starts falling apart when it comes to protecting the Black demographic. And you also see a lot of time if a person of color is being harassed by a white-skinned individual, the police or someone in power will automatically go to the aid of the person who they most identify with over the person of color. Even then, the person of a darker complexion will be talked down to as if they were the cause of the grievance. They will oftentimes be made to feel as if they are responsible for the occurrence and advised to change their behavior, while the white or non-Black individuals who caused the disturbance will get barely a slap on the wrist. In the past, when a Black person was killed, there was practically no outrage. There was very little justice for the victim and their families, and this is because though our laws, even though there are laws against murder and violence, it doesn't seem to be enforced when it comes to the Black demographic. In 2020, that all changed with the murder of George Floyd. This was the first time officers were recorded blatantly abusing their power, which ended up with the loss of his life. Derek Chauvin, excuse me, the officer who knelt on Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to 22 and a half years. The other officers, J. Alexander Kuhn, Cho Tao, and Thomas Lane, their trials will begin March of 2022 for aiding and abetting counts. Now, this segment is going to be similar cases, different outcomes. So we're going to compare similar cases and crimes, but they have vastly different outcomes. So Florida is going to be the most prominent story in a lot of these cases because their laws just cater to a certain demographic of people. Allegedly. Okay, so Florida 19th Judicial Circuit Judge Sherwood Chip Bauer gave a black man 26 years in prison, while a white man, he gave 2 years time served for the same crime in the same circumstance. The two men pled guilty to 2 counts of the same crime. They both had the same sentencing total, the same lowest permissible sentence, but the judge sentenced the black defendant to 26 years state prison while sentencing, like I said, 2 years to the white counterpart. These men, Chase Linker, and I know I'm butchering that name. I couldn't find anyone with an easier name, but that's how it is. He was 19 at the time. Lamar Lloyd, 21, black. And so let's do a little comparison to both of these. So Chase, I'm just going to call him Chase because I cannot deal with his last name. It's Legleitner, whatever that is. So Chase was 19 when he committed an armed robbery along with 5 other people. What? Oops. You got me closing out my story, Kurt. He popped up a message. I'm not sure. I'll read that message later. So he committed the robbery with 5 other people on November 3rd, 2008. He was arrested February 2009. Lloyd was 21 at the time when he and another man committed 2 armed robberies in Stuart, Florida on March 18, 2009. He was arrested later that night. Now, both were charged with 2 counts of robbery with deadly weapon, a Class D felony. Chase pled no contest to the charges against him on November 18th of 2009. Same with Lloyd. He pled the same March 11th, 2010. Now, both of them had 138.2 sentence points, which yielded a minimum sentence of 82.65 months, which is just under 7 years. On July 23rd, 2010, 19th Judicial Circuit Judge Bauer sentenced Lloyd to 13 years in state prison on each 2 accounts, yielding a sentence of 26 years. On June 23rd of 2011, Bauer invoked the mitigated departure from a minimum sentence calculated from Chase's sentence points and sentenced him to time already served of 722 days in Martin County Jail, which is just 1 year and 11 months and 27 days. The 2 men were charged with the same crime in the same court, had an equal number of sentence points, and were sentenced by the same judge. But one was committed to state prison for 26 years, while the other just under 2 years.
So So this is what we're talking about. The difference between black laws and white laws, because they both have the same background, the same crime, the same judge, and they basically end up getting served certain different type of time for the same crime. This is
Indeed,
the
time
difference
and time
in
again.
it. So and we do see it all the time. So it shouldn't be like that. That's a problem within our justice system. Um, so that's um, what that should be in both of those answers I just gave you. uh, see how I rolled it out. Yeah, but
And then, in the next case, Brock Turner, who's 20, white, from Stanford. He was an ex-swimmer, versus Corey Beatty, 19, black, Vanderbilt University football star. So I don't know if you remember Brock Turner's case. He was witness of raping an unconscious woman in an alley behind a dumpster. For 16 months, they used his Stanford yearbook picture in the media instead of his mugshot, and despite the fact that he was arrested in January 2015. And his actual mugshot, wasn't available to the public until around uh, March of 2016. And that's after the case had blown up worldwide. Like, and we'll go into that later on in how they treat different cases. Like certain people, they show their mugshots. Others, they show them with the puppy and being family people and living life. So, so continuing on, the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department told multiple journalists that the arresting agency, um, the Stanford Department of Public Safety, must make the decision on whether or not to share a mugshot. Stanford, on the other hand, said that the call must come from the sheriff's department. So they're like pointing fingers, like, no, they make the decision. No, you make this decision. No, no. So meanwhile, on Twitter, the hashtag no mugshot and hashtag where's the mugshot picked up steam as news outlets ran the only picture of Turner they could. Um, wire images of wait, yeah, I'm not sure what that means. I think I need to edit that more. But they kept using his school picture instead of like his mugshot. So Corey Beatty, who's 19, black, Vanderbilt University football star, was one of 4 Vanderbilt University football players who carried an unconscious 21-year-old female student into a dorm room, gang raped, and sodomized her. They photographed her, videoed her, and one urinated on her face on June 23rd, 2013. In July 2016, after being convicted by Davidson County Criminal Court jury, um, by a Davidson County Criminal Court jury, Beatty, who was 22 years old, received a 15-year prison sentence, the minimum allowed by law for his crime, while both uh, the victim and the prosecutors had asked the judge for the maximum sentence possible of 25 years. After he gets out, he will be required to be listed as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Now, the sentence for Turner, after being found guilty on 3 felony counts of sexual assault, 6 months and 3 years of probation, which was 3,000% longer than what Brock Turner was had gotten. Or I'm mixing my stories. Forgive me. It's 3,000% longer. Is the sentence that what was his name?
Brock Turner.
Beatty gotten.
Oh, baby,
So
yeah.
yeah, um, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So Beatty, his sentence was 300% longer than what Brock got. The crimes were comparable, and that's according to what was posted in the New York Times Daily News. So why are minorities painted as the villains and as villains who deserve harsher sentence? Media. The media prefers to show the white offender as human, to show that he's just like you and me. He's a family man. He likes, he was in the war, or he's got 3 kids. Da da da. And they make up most of the faces that you see on television. Because we're still a minority. On the other hand, you need a villain, and that's where the minorities come into play. Even when blacks or other minorities are in the news as the victim of crimes or committing crimes, whether they are the offenders or not, they show unflattering photos. Typically old mug shots that have nothing to do with the crime itself, shots of the victim as they are in distress. Those images represent how the world views blacks and other minorities. Less than animals, inhuman, wild, unkempt, criminals, and other defamatory adjectives. An example of this is shown in 2015. University of Cincinnati police officer Ray Tensing was indicted for the murder of an unarmed black man named Sam Dubois. NBC, BBC, CNN, and other mainstream media outlets used a mugshot of Dubois from a previous unrelated arrest to report the story. Tensing, on the other hand, was shown in his police uniform. The images used to report on the deaths of unarmed teenagers, Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, Trayvon Martin in Stanford, Florida, drew similar criticisms. When Marissa Alexander went to prison in 2012, she became a symbol of the shortcomings of Florida's stand your ground gun law. And I shared this picture with Kurt Dog. Let me see if I can pull it up. Or I'll just take a screenshot and show you who we're talking about. And then I'll show it to you.
And speaking on that story that what you were just talking about,
these two. Okay.
One thing that we've talked about on this show is when it's dealing with a black person, first thing they do is do a background check. They're going to pull out from the time they were born until the current time. Now, as for our white counterparts, they not going to do that. And that's why we have so many to actually have so many crimes, kind of like the guy in Florida. I believe he's still in prison now after killing two best friends that went fishing. But this guy had over 100 and something felony accounts against him, and I think he was in his 20s. That never should have happened, and that family should go after that police department for allowing him to be on the street with that many felonies. And those guys would still be alive today. So, but go ahead, Miss Risky. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Off my chest.
No, I. So Alexander, the picture I just showed you, is a black mother who was a licensed gun owner when she shot at her estranged husband in 2010, saying she feared he'd hurt her. The bullet never even grazed the man, but she was initially sentenced to up to 20 years in jail. And then making headlines just as George Zimmerman was famously walked free for fatally shooting a young Trayvon Martin in the same state. Florida's Stand Your Ground law passed in 2005 and it was the nation's first. 21 states have since followed. The proposed changes would make Florida's law the toughest for prosecutors and could be a harbinger of similar changes nationwide. So, did you need to do your thing, or do we still?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it because I don't want to go too deep. Stand by. You are listening to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt Dog and Miss Risky. We are talking about the difference between black laws and white laws. So definitely continue to tune in, and hopefully this will help someone that don't understand the difference between them. But by being a black person ourselves, we have experienced this. We see the difference between it when two people commit the same crime, go to the same judge, and it's a different sentence served based upon the color of their skin. Go ahead, Miss Risky.
Okay. So one opponent, Democratic State Senator Audrey Gibson, has called the Stand Your Ground measure a getaway with murder bill. Alexander, who has a daughter of an Army sergeant, grew up around guns, says she knew little about Florida's Stand Your Ground law when she was first charged with aggravated assault after she fired at her husband during the confrontation in her Jacksonville home. She said it was a warning shot, but the judge denied her a chance to use the Stand Your Ground defense, saying she didn't do enough to prove she feared for her safety. So notice that trend. And you've seen this throughout the years, and we've done these stories where the Karens, oh, I feared for my life, but yet you're in my face. They get away with it, and we can't.
Well, I know we have a storyline, but then we haven't really talked about this, but this came out earlier today as we're talking about Stand Your Ground. Senate votes to allow concealed carry of guns without training or background checks. So that just came out today, and all these folks saying that they fear for their life. That's taking us back to the Wild Wild West days. The only difference is you don't know if a person have a gun or don't have a gun.
Well,
But
it's not
if
taking
it,
us back to the Wild Wild West. At least they knew what the situation was. Like everybody was on the same level. It was
yeah,
survival. Here, it's just like they said, it's a way to murder people and get away with it.
the murder,
Like you can just use the keywords, I feared for my life, and if you're a certain complexion, you get away with it.
and if your skin been kissed by God's son, guess what?
Right.
Don't
You're a
try
felon.
that. Don't
Right.
try that. You will be arrested on the spot.
Exactly. We're guilty before like before we even get a trial or anything. We're automatically guilty. Just like in the case of George Zimmerman, he in 2013 told the police in a phone call, um, he stated he spotted a real suspicious guy. What made Trayvon Martin suspicious wasn't really clear at the time, besides the fact that he wore a hoodie with a sweatshirt and walked slowly in the rain. Um, Zimmerman called Stanford police at 7:09 p.m. and to report his suspicions. He told the dispatcher that the man in a gray hoodie was just walking around and looking at all the houses, and now he's staring at me. He also told the police he's coming back to check me out. And he asked how long until you can get an officer here. And so they instructed him that they've got police officers on the way. And then they on the call that was recorded, they hear Zimmerman saying in frustration, "These assholes always get away. These assholes." Like he doesn't even know this boy. Like he wasn't running. Like what made him suspicious besides his dark skin. So eventually there was a struggle, and Zimmerman eventually shot him in the chest. Um, I'm gonna skip past most of it because we all know the story, but As deliberations progressed, the jurors initially were inclined to find Zimmerman guilty, came around to view that the law says at the end of the day, all that mattered was who was on top and who was on the bottom. And the evidence suggested that Martin was on top and Zimmerman was on the bottom. So he was losing his fight. And
He was
so,
getting his ass whooped.
right, because he accosted some man they told to leave him alone. And he thought he was going to be, big and bad with his gun, and this kid was taking him down. And so they eventually rendered a verdict of not guilty. And as in the Jim Crow era, jurors continue to convict and sentence Black folk very differently than white folk for the same crime. Like you see in the Florida Stand Your Ground case. And we're going to see more and more of that come in here in the future. Like I guarantee you, with all these new gun laws. So we continue to treat racialized trials as though race doesn't matter, or that white folks are unbiased arbiters in such cases. And the legacy of pathologizing people of color while excusing the violence of whites is now more strongly institutionalized. But it's also more subtle, with no individual blatant acts of bigotry to raise alarms. And this is how modern day Jim Crow survives. So next we're going to talk about this bias system.
Okay. Welcome to the show, Radio Chaos. Always supporting the show. Thank you for tuning in. It is our last show of the year. Please, if you are just not tuning in, go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and make a comment to say hashtag speak on it to be entered into the drawing that will happen. The contest will end on the 31st of this month. Then we will do a drawing to give out prizes, which the prizes are really good. And then you can go to both of our social media page and do the same thing. By doing that, you have to like or follow us, and we will enter your name into the contest another time. But you have to do it. Please do not subscribe and unsubscribe. Subscribe and stay on there. And we would
Yeah, you know you
always
like us. Stick with
exactly.
us.
I know Radio like us. He been with us for over a year now, um, so that's good. But let's go to this bias because I'm looking at this picture and it's pissing me off. Um, so
So the next story. So these are the people we're going to be talking about next. So in the spring of 2014, Sadie Jones and Brescia Borden attempted to steal an unlocked Huffy bicycle and Razor scooter from the lawn of a Fort Lauderdale home. Before the two could flee the scene, and after they realized the toys were too small for them, they were arrested and charged with burglary and petty theft. The items were valued at $80. Compared this crime to at another in another location, North Fort Lauderdale, the previous summer, Vernon Prater, who had previously been convicted of multiple armed robberies, was arrested for stealing tools from Home Depot. The items were also valued about $80, like $86. When Jones, Borden, and Prater were booked into jail, a computer program issued a prediction of the likelihood of each committing a future crime. The program, North Point's Inc.'s Correctional Offender Management Profiling for Alternative Sanctions, or what they call it, COMPAS, issued surprising predictions. Now, this was Jones' first offense, and she was identified as medium risk. Borden whose only priors were misdemeanors committed as a juvenile, was identified as high risk. And Prater, the seasonal criminal, came back with low risk. Prater has since been charged with 30 felony counts, including burglary and grand theft. He currently sits, I don't know right now, but he may be out by now. But at the time this was done, he was had been in the Florida State Prison for his crimes. Borden and Jones completed probation without reoffending. The prediction issued by Compass weren't idle speculations. Its predictions, also known as risk assessment scores, inform decisions at various stages of the criminal justice system. In Borden and Jones' case, the scores arguably meant a higher bond amount, from 0 to 1,000. Compass falsely identifies Black defendants as future criminals at almost twice the rate of white defendants. It also falsely identifies white defendants as low risk more often than Black defendants. Programs like Compass are increasingly popular in courtrooms around the nation. This is a part of a trend in the increased use of data-driven decision making. And it states in England et al. 2016, advertisers want data to reach profitable consumers, medical professionals to find side effects of prescription drugs, supply chain operators to optimize their delivery routes, police to determine where to focus resources, and social scientists to study human interactions. But the data, as above quoted, noted, is it is a non-panacea. It's a serious concern because, as one of the White House reported, the big data and analytics have a potential to eclipse longstanding civil rights protection in how personal information is used in housing, credit, employment, health, education, and marketplace. And to give a sense of how this can happen, consider the following case. A firm wants to automate decision making relating hiring. They have a large data set with information about their employees, which includes employee zip codes, the length of tenure at a firm. The zip codes we can imagine correlate with race. Most of the firm's past, present, and present white employees live in one zip code and Blacks on another zip code. There is a strong anti-Black bias in the employee review process. And for this reason, turnover amongst Black employees is high. The firm identifies long tenure as one element of being a good employee and mines their data set to find correlations between the tenure and set up a scoring system where applicants gain or lose points based on their zip code. Obviously, the automated system will discriminate against Black people. Further, it inherits this discriminatory deposition from a pattern of discrimination that was present in its training data. We can imagine that the firm had the best intentions in setting up the system, but perhaps they learned that they had a reputation of being biased against Black people. In an effort to eliminate human bias from their decision processes, they automated it as much of their decision making as possible. The problem, of course, is that their automated system is biased now because their predecessors set it up that way. Plausibly, this is what happens with Compass. Indeed, North Point Inc. published a paper defending Compass, where they identified its bias as a natural consequence of using unbiased scoring rules for groups that happen to have different distribution of scores. Like, what does that mean? In other words, it's okay that Compass falsely identifies Black defendants as future criminals at a higher rate than white defendants. After all, Black people are disproportionately likely to be arrested. So millions of Americans struggle um, while millions of Americans were shrugging off their fear of the coronavirus this past, the past holiday weekends, they flocked in crowds in beaches, lakes, and restaurants. Unfortunately, there's another type of contagion that keeps some white people paralyzed: fear of Black men in public places. Memorial Day 2021. That weekend saw a release of two disturbing videos involving Black men. One showed a white Minneapolis police officer with his knee on the neck of a Black man who was gasping, "I can't breathe." Man, leader died. In the second incident, a white woman was walking her dog in New York Central Park, and she got into a dispute with a Black man who asked her to leash her pet. A video shot by the man shows her vowing to call the police and saying, "I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life." Both episodes came not long after the release of another video showing Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed 25-year-old Black man shot to death after encountering two white armed men while jogging in Georgia. Black men have long been the boogeyman in white America's collective psyche. There's something about us that brings out the worst in many people. White American, as long as Black men, white America has long associated Black men with criminality and hypersexuality. It permeates our history and our art. We are Nat Turner, who terrified plantation owners when he led the 19th century slave rebellion. We're Bigger Thomas from Richard Wright's Native Son. We're Marlo Stansfield, the ice cold drug dealer from HBO's The Wire. That's why some society or some social science experiments show that even trained police officers are biased to see a Black man as a threat. This fear of the Black man doesn't just spring from racism; it's psychological. There is a body of work in literature and psychology that speaks to a historically traditional or tradition where some white people, white men in particular, project a primal aggression that they refuse to see in themselves onto Black people. The Black man has essentially replaced "the devil made me do it" or "did it,"
Exactly.
which goes into the next segment.
So it's a couple of things in this one that you said.
Hmm.
One, even the damn computer
Right,
discriminate against us.
exactly.
So that tells you a lot. This young
I mean, it
lady,
goes with redlining as well, like how certain cities and schools get funding. It's all biased information that's put into a computer. And though the person who set it up that way didn't mean it to be biased against other races, that's what it's doing. Because they're like, "Oh, well, this neighborhood here needs this because we want to protect this. We're going to forget about this. So everybody on that line gets screwed. These people, yeah,
yeah.
regardless of race."
And what pissed me off about the picture that you sent earlier about Vernon Prada and
Uh-huh.
Barisha Borden. Okay, prior two armed robberies, one attempted armed robbery. Um, he was charged with grand theft. He's listed as a low risk. Um, As for Risha Borden, prior offense for juvenile misdemeanor. So those files should have been sealed.
Right.
Uh,
And have nothing to do with the present,
exactly.
and that's like we get convicted before we're even set in the courtroom. Like they're looking at our past, our parents' past. Well, their mom was in jail and da da da. Like they go to whole family history, and it's like I just stole bubblegum. 20 years.
Mhm. And
He's a
and
menace.
that's the reason why you hear about they start to pick and choose, or they do these surveys about how many black kids is going to end up in the prison system as a child. They test them and they say, oh, they're going to end up in prison. Well, if somebody voted I was going to end up in prison, they could kiss my ass because I'm not going to jail. Never been to jail, not going. So,
I'm too pretty for jail, and
yeah,
I'm too spoiled.
oh, you're not going to go in there like little Becky after
Yeah, it's
stealing
like
the
I'm gonna lose 20 pounds and have my sneak ass.
and do yoga all day.
Yeah.
She might be doing yoga, but somebody going to be behind her. Big Bertha. You're going to be downward
Stretching up the
dog.
muscles. Like downward dog woman.
Downward dog. Get down there and wash my drawers again. Welcome to the show, T Cal. I seen T Cal come in. Thank
Hey
you for supporting the
Marcella.
show. She said last show of the year with the Terry, ma'am, Marcella's not the last show.
Yeah, we need a
What
break.
what
We
am
need
I
a
going to
vacation.
do on my Thursday nights? He's so
Repent and plan for
heartbroken.
next shows.
And then he said, "Oh, hello, Miss Risky." That's what he said. Uh, well, we got to remember that the prison industry system is also, yes, it is. It is. Prison system make great money. Uh, and that's why so
And then
many,
when we talked about that in earlier shows, how they make money off of certain groups of people. Was it like the 14th Amendment? Is that the one after slavery? I can't remember that far back. Somebody remind me. Radio, do you remember?
I know radio would
He be
definitely
taking
remember.
notes.
So he
But
was
yeah,
restricted. Let me see. That was on February the 7th. No, but that's the way they look at us. The color of our skin is a threat to a lot of people. That's the reason why we have so many uh, innocent people going to jail. Now, I'm not saying everybody shouldn't be going to jail. If you do the crime, you do the time. I don't care who you are, what color you are. If you do the crime, do the time. But it needs to be fair across the board. Because here it is, even with the January 6th, we seen a lot of this going on. I think it was the brother, I think it came out on social media. What, 3 or 4 years? Ones that was there that actually went into Capitol Hill, got probation, time served. The grandmama didn't get no time, just got probation because she was a grandmother. Well, hell, she was a grandmother when she decided to go there. It shouldn't matter if she's a grandmother. People was able
exactly.
to leave the country after doing a domestic terrorist attack. That should never happen. So, yeah, it's a problem. Um,
No, and it was the 13th Amendment.
the 13th.
It's a constitution that abolished slavery, but it also promoted involuntary servitude except with punishment for a crime. So if you were locked up, that was free labor. But anyway,
Exactly. Now,
so that's
now,
how they got over on it.
so I'm gonna ask the question, and I know this is something we didn't talk about, but because and Marcellus is the one that brought this thought to my mind when he talked about the prison system. It's a big business. So when these brothers and sisters that been in jail that did not commit the crimes get out, should the prisons be the ones to pay them that money because they the ones that made the money off of it? They the ones getting products made, had these contracts to make the products or whatever it is. Should they be the ones to pay it instead of our tax dollars? I'm just
I
asking a
think I
question.
think the government should, since they promoted it, they're the ones co-signing on it. They should
They should
pay.
also pay too. They should also pay. I
But
think we read last latter part of last month or the first part of this month, a brother that did all this time in jail, they refused to pay him, and he was innocent. But someone started up a GoFundMe, and within a couple of days, he made over $1 million from the GoFundMe. That should be something that the government should pay, and
yeah,
also
state
that
and
prison.
federal.
Yeah, uh, they got all this free labor,
Exactly. And they got all the
but
funding for housing them
but
and putting in, doing the bare minimum with the prisoners and giving them bare minimum accommodations and pocketing the rest of the money. Like, no, they need to change some things.
um, Marcella said if someone kills someone and they go to jail, the prison industry system is getting paid off of the suffering of a victim family, and the killer will work inside and pay the prison a hustle. Yeah, because think about it. All those phone calls not free.
Well, I thought the family members paid that, the collect calls.
Somebody got to pay it.
Yeah, I think the families pay for it or whoever they call,
Yeah,
accept those charges, right? So yeah,
I remember. This had to been about 20 years ago. This guy I used to work with. He ended up going to jail, local jail, I think on some tickets. He called me collect on my cell phone. I didn't know no different. Called me collect on the cell phone. We talked maybe 2 minutes because he wanted me to reach out to his wife. That call was over $100. I
yeah.
told him, look,
I'll be taking no calls that I don't
exactly.
identify.
I,
You better
no,
write me a
no.
letter.
Well, it asked if I wanted to accept the charges. I'm like, yeah, it won't be that much. Shit, it was over $100. I said, no. Nah. I told him, look, man, you need to pay that. You got to pay that. Oh, Marcella said, and the victim family don't get a quarter.
Of
So
course not.
don't. They will work them until they can't use them no more. That's why so many people stay on death row for a long time. That's why so many people get longer prison sentence. Kind of like back in the days when they did slave trades. They display these the slaves back then to show how strong they are, and that depends on how much money they're gonna have to pay for that slave. Well, the prisons, when the uh, offenders or defendants go to court, what they on display, they want to see how much time they could get in prison. I would assume that's what it was. How long would they be able to stay in prison? Well, they young, strong. They're gonna get a steeper time. Same thing. It's similar to me. It seemed like it's similar. That's my opinion. I don't know, but I've never been in prison, so um,
But
all
yeah,
right.
and just going back to the black man did it theory, the boogeyman.
Yeah, but let
Did you
us
want to
let
do
us.
those, or you want me to do it?
No, we can do it. Hold on, real quick. Stand by. You're listening to Speak on It with Who You With Kurt Dog. I'm L. Who You With Kurt Dog with Miss Risky is in the house. Unfortunately, this is our last show of the year, but we will be back with some new things coming up in the new year. Um, we're talking about the different laws between black laws and white laws, how you can have the same crime but different time. So on this one, they automatically assume the black man did it. The black man did it. And he might be the victim. I'm just saying, he might be. Um, the most famous in the black community where a white woman accused a black man of an offense is Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy from Chicago, while visiting cousins in Mississippi. He was lynched for offending a white woman, Carolyn Bryan, 21, at a convenience store. 60 years later, Carolyn recanted her story. The two men involved in the murder were acquitted of Till's kidnapping and murder in September of 1955 by an all, let's say that again, by an all white, all male jury. They deliberated for an hour. I would assume in the back room, they probably were smoking a cigarette and a cigar and drinking beer, or drinking some whiskey back then, some moonshine or something in Mississippi. But
They were probably just shooting the breeze, not even talking about the case because they knew in their mind, not guilty, they're white. Let's just make this
exactly,
look good.
and uh, just a couple of weeks ago, the governor, our leaders, um, said they was not going to press charges against Carolyn. Here it is, 60 years later. She recanted her story. But because when she recanted her story, it picked up speed, people started talking about it and wanting her to be charged. But because she's white,
And old and feeble. Mm.
they don't want to charge her. So
But
I'm
Bill
like,
Cosby about the same age, and they put him all in the jail. And he
and
could barely speak.
trying to get his release overturned.
Yep,
Charge that woman.
exactly. I don't care how old you are, how old the case is, charge them.
Exactly. And matter of fact, this is one way we could get justice. Emmett Till movie is getting ready to come out. We need to make sure that movie is number one. And we're not getting sponsored by this movie, but we need to hear the story. I appreciate Emmett Till. Emmett Till mother, never met her, but bless her soul. She said when this happened to her son, she did not want a closed casket. She wanted the casket to be open where everyone can see what they did to her son. So that took a lot. I've seen the
'Cause he
pictures of
was
it.
mangled.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we mentioned that the young man out of Louisiana, I forgot his name, had
Yeah, it started
Carolyn,
with a Q.
yeah, out of, I know Marcellus probably know because he's from Louisiana, but and still nothing have happened today of that case. So the thing is, it's a lot involved. This should not happen. It should not have happened. But if Emmett Till was a white kid, they would have thought it was funny.
Yep.
He would have still been around harassing females. But um, um, so that's on that one. Ed Johnson arrested for sexually assaulting a white female in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1906. The victim was allegedly knocked unconscious with a leather strap. Johnson became a suspect when a witness claimed that he saw him carrying a leather strap. Though Johnson did not own him one, Johnson provided numerous alibi witnesses at trial. Nonetheless, he was convicted by an all-white jury and sentenced to death. While the U.S. Supreme Court granted a stay of execution, a mob broke through the jail and brutally murdered Johnson. In a public hanging, Johnson's tombstone reflects his professed innocence. God bless you all. I am an innocent man. In February 2000, his conviction was finally postmortem overturned. That's. I'm gonna keep on going because this is. I know what you're saying, Miss Risky. We still have a lot to cover. So, Scottsboro boys' conviction raised public awareness about racist injustice and galvanizing the civil rights movement. In 1931, a fight occurred between black and white boys on a freight train traveling through the town of Scottsboro, Alabama. The police rounded up all the black boys riding on the train and ultimately arrested 9 black boys ranging in age from 12 to 19 years old. 2 white girls then came forward alleging that they were gang raped on the train. All 9 defendants claimed innocence. After 4 separate one-day trial with an all-white jury, 8 of the 9 was convicted and sentenced to death. Their appeals would last over 20 years. On retrial, one of the rape victims testified that the rape was fabricated. Yet, all white juries again returned guilty verdict. In the end, after facing multiple retrials, all of the Scottsboro boys had their conviction dropped or were sentenced to lesser charge. The Alabama legislation recently introduced a bill to postmortem as
Posthumously.
possibly. I'm I'm trying to read fast. I told you it was
Yeah.
slow. Yeah, maybe. Hold on.
Posthumously exonerated the 9 Scottsboro
Okay,
boys.
down there. The 9 Scottsboro boys. Meanwhile, a landmark Supreme Court decision in the Brown versus Mississippi case addressed concern about confession obtained through violence. In 1934, after a white farmer was killed in Mississippi, 3 black sharecroppers were arrested for the crime. Ed Bell, Arthur Ellington, and Henry Shields were all beaten and tortured into confessing. Even more ludicrous, the police did not dispute torturing the defendant, who appeared visibly in pain as they sat through their trial. An all white jury convicted the 3 and sentenced them to death by hanging. In 1936, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the conviction, arguing that coerced confession cannot constitute evidence in a court of law. This historic ruling paved the way for the Millennium Rule to come decades later. Ellington, Shields, and Brown were never fully exonerated because they took short plea deals for fear of facing another unjust retrial. Black women were also subject to the same unequal treatment in the criminal justice system. In 1945, the state of Georgia executed Lena Baker for killing a white man who had kidnapped and assaulted her. She claimed that she had shot him in self defense. Baker was convicted by a jury of white men and became the only woman ever executed by electrocution in Georgia. In 2005, the Georgia Board of Pardon and Parole granted Baker a pardon, saying that the state had committed grievous error. Finally, wrongful conviction based on racial bias were not just a sudden phenomenon. In 1948, the Scottsboro Brothers of the North, also known as the Trenton Six, were arrested for killing of a white furniture store owner in Trenton, New Jersey. Witness description of the session range from 2 to 3 black men, 2 to 4 light-skinned teenagers. The 6 black men who were arrested did not match the description. 5 of the 26 signed in Constitution confession, which they maintained at trial were coerced, all provided rock solid alibis. Nevertheless, an all-white jury convicted the 26 and sentenced them to death. On appeal, their conviction were overturned due to weak evidence and the perjury of the medical examiner. After multiple retrials, 4 of the 26 were acquitted and 2 were found guilty of a lesser sentence. Then we go on to the Central Park Five. One spring evening in 1989, a group of around 30 teenagers were hanging out in Central Park, New York. Some of them were causing serious trouble, including badly hurting others in the park and harassing homeless people. The same night, a 28-year-old white woman, Tricia Mila, I hope I said that right, but close
Yeah,
enough,
Meili,
Mealy,
Meili.
had been out jogging in the park. She was found beaten and raped and was in a coma for 12 days. In that time, the case of the Central Park jogger would grip New York. 5 black and Hispanic boys, aged between 14 and 16, would be found guilty in jail for the crime. Kevin Richards, 14, Raymond Santana, 14, Antron McCray, 15, Yusuf Salam,
So,
15,
yeah.
and 16-year-old Corey Wise were found guilty of offense including attempted murder, rape, assault, and robbery, and were convicted to 6 to 13 years in prison. In 2002, a year after his second meeting, Matthias Reyes told the police he was the one who'd attacked and sexually assaulted Mila when he was 17 and said he acted alone. Eventually, the five men were cleared of all charges, having almost served their full sentence. He was able to tell police detail about the attack that wasn't public knowledge, and his DNA matched that at the scene of the crime. In 1994, Susie Leah Smith told the police that a black man carjacked her and kidnapped her sons. After a 9-day investigation, she confessed that she murdered her 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alice by strapping them into their car seat in her burgundy Mazda and then letting her car roll into a lake in the mill town of Union where she lived. Susie Smith, 43, was convicted in 1995 of murder. And what's crazy about that story, she described the man as Spider-Man.
No, like because the picture they had, I just remember it could have been any black dude that like everybody had a cousin that kind of favored what she described. It was like a generic picture of a black man,
Yeah.
and there was like a manhunt. But of course, we did one of these.
Mm. Who gonna take a
Just
car
didn't
with
make
kids
sense,
in it?
right?
That
Like
don't even sound right.
right.
Um, and
But
so,
fortunately, they didn't grab. I mean, they didn't arrest any black people, but they did question a lot of people because that could have gone the wrong way real quick. But
exactly.
fortunately, they found out. But this is, again, the Karens uh, going around reporting that the black man did it and they did it.
Back in 95.
Mhm.
Karen's been around for a long time. But we're going to go back to 92. Uh, Jess, Jesse Anderson falsely reported that 2 Not just one, but two African American men attacked him and his wife in Milwaukee. His wife was stabbed dozens of times to death, and went as far to give police a hat that one of the alleged said. The investigation found that Anderson bought the hat and the knife used to kill his wife. He was convicted of a murder in 1994, died after a prison beating. Uh, Sherry Hall, a Georgia rookie police officer, falsely claimed in 2016 that an African American man shot her. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Hall described her um, said as a 6 foot, 230-pound African American man wearing a green shirt and black jogging pants. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation got involved and found their story to be a lie. She lied. She was charged, convicted, and sentenced to 15 years in prison on a range of charges, including making false statements. The man who Stewart had identified in a lineup, Willie Bennett. Always got to be one named Willie. Willie Bennett stood accused of the crime until Stewart's brother came forward. Bennett spent 12 years in prison on an unrelated robbery charge. Dr. Rita Walker at Licensed Clinical Psychological told ABC News on Thursday that the consequence of African American being falsely blamed for crimes can transition to internalizing racism. It is. That's our system. It is. Over the course of generations, some, not all, but some Black people um,
To internalize.
start to internalize this notion that I don't matter. My life don't matter. My life doesn't matter because the messaging is so pervasive. These narratives get wrapped into not only are you're not human, you're a violent person, said Walker. Walker said that African American are sometimes seen as potential violent simply because of their skin tone. I've been telling y'all that for the longest. Been telling you that for the longest.
Yeah. And they say African Americans make up 49% of wrongful convictions since 1989. And that's according to the data collected by the National Registry of Exonerations, the NRE. By contrast, 37% of whites and 12% of Hispanics were exonerated during the same period. According to a 2017 report from the NRE, Black people were 7 times more likely to be falsely convicted of murder than white people, 3.5 times more likely to be innocent when accused of sexual assault because of misidentification, which has happened in half of these cases, and 12 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted in drug cases. Recently, I know somebody wrote in and wanted us to talk about this person, Alice Sebold. She was the best-selling author of the memoir Lucky and the novel The Lovely Bones. Didn't read the books, but I love I appreciated the movie The Lovely Bones. She apologized recently to a man who was wrongly convicted of raping her in 1982 after she had identified him in court as her attacker. And that's after not being able to identify him in a lineup, but she ID'd him in court. As a result of the conviction, Mr. Broadwater, 61 now, spent 16 years in prison before being released in 1998. And he was forced to register as a sex offender. Sebold had plans to adapt the 1999 memoir after the man she accused of raping her had his conviction overturned. Fortunately, that was scrapped by Netflix once it was discovered that she had wrongfully accused an innocent man. But here's the kicker. None of this probably would have been known if the executive producer on the project, Tim Mucciant, Mucciant, I don't know. I'm not going to even try it.
Maybe
If
next.
Tim had investigated the glaring discrepancies in this prosecutor's case and started poking around and trying to figure out what really happened, none of this would have come about. Like, he was the one that's like, I don't think that was man. Oh, yeah, you're right. He wasn't. So, as we stated before, Blacks are portrayed in the media have an effect on white thought. And this is according to Garrett S. Griffin, the author of Racism in Kansas City after um, Brock Turner's mugshot was finally released. He had wrote about these disparities in the white versus black laws or what have you. But think about that statement. No one group of people have been disparaged, portrayed in more derogatory ways than black people. Take the description black. Black is typically associated with negative things. Black art, black magic, black heart. When things turn black, it's rotten, it's gone bad, etc. Disney characters with dark features are depicted as villains. White is always equated with purity, clean, new, angelic, free, etc. You get it. The fair maidens are always coveted by the dark villainous counterparts. These images have been ingrained in our brains since childhood. The images are also perpetuated in the media. This bias not only affects how people are treated, but also how they are spoken to or how people receive information from people who are different. And you may have experienced this in your time when you're giving some instruction to somebody and they're like, oh, your tone's a little, you're getting a little irate, or you're getting a little, you sound upset, and you're talking to them in calm tones. It's like, no, I'm calm. I'm just stating facts, just letting you know, let's not do this anymore. But it's always taken as a sign of aggression, like from someone with darker skin. And I don't know if any of you guys ever had that happen to you guys where you had to change your ways, like, and it's like, just because the lighter skins didn't like how it was presented. Like they get their feelings were hurt that you were calling out them being wrong or calling them out for making insensitive comments. Oh, I'm a racist now? I didn't say that, but you brought it up.
If the shoe fit.
All right. If the hoodie fits, like it's just funny. Like we always have to change our ways to and adapt our way of being to appease other people. We walk on eggshells in certain situations. We have to, like we're taught at a young age, keep your head down. Don't give too many people too much lip. If an officer comes up to you, you pretty much like, yes, sir, Mister. Like we have to do all these things, but nobody's telling them how to not bully and mistreat and talk to people any kind of way.
And shoot up
Like it goes
schools.
both ways. Like, why do we have to conform? Just like as a woman, why can't I wear a short skirt without some man feeling the need to grab me? Like I'm wearing this because I'm cute. It doesn't give you the right to grab or do whatever, So why do I have to change my being to accommodate somebody who has no home training?
True.
Sorry, I'm no longer going to stand for it. And hopefully 2022 we see a lot more changes because now we're starting to see more people being held accountable for their actions on both sides, as it should. Um, a lot of grievances or assaults on Black people are starting to now see um, that their attackers or their bully, people who bully them, get arrested and get charges placed upon them. So hopefully this becomes a theme, and hopefully now that there'll be limited Karen interactions. False reports get you jail time. Sorry, not sorry.
Well, when we talked about those all white jury, a couple of things came to mind. One, the Ahmaud Arbery case. Um, they selected pretty much all white jury except one.
Right.
Um, the
And even
con-
he was kind of questionable, wasn't he? He wasn't even like, it was like a mixture, right?
well, we didn't even know who he was until I don't know if they identified him now, but even the Minnesota police officer that shot the brother last year, that says you're reaching for her taser, they selected all white jury. And I've been out of pocket. I don't know what the outcome of the trial is, if it's a verdict yet or not. Um, but what they try to do is try to take it back to the early days where they could say, hey, we're going to select all white jury and we're going to make sure we get them off. But it didn't work in Georgia. And I don't know about Minneapolis with the, I forgot her name. We talked about it last year on the show. Um, what was his name? Was it Grant? We've talked about several cases of people being shot and
Too
killed
many.
by unarmed police officer. Um, so it's kind of, I'm trying to see. Uh, and then even Derek Chavez, who was found guilty for killing George Floyd, he just admitted to killing him in a civil case. He pled guilty, and because of that, they want to give him, I think, 25 years to run with the same sentence for killing George Floyd. So he made a plea deal. So he haven't been sentenced in George Floyd case yet, have he? No, yes he have. Yes he have. Yes he have. I'm thinking about something else. Um, so they
Focus,
won't.
ad head.
You know me. Uh, I get
I
caught
know
up.
it's been like a long year.
Yeah, dealing with these and everything that we have going on in our personal life um, is a lot. So hopefully next year we could bring some more subjects to the show and do more things that everybody can interact with. So please take the time, go to YouTube. If you're already subscribed, that's fine. Just type speak on it. Hashtag speak on it on the page and tell a friend. Have them to subscribe to the channel too. And also on other social media, subscribe to us also. Um, so let's do that. I was trying to avoid this, but stand by. Um, You're listening to Speak On It with Who You With Kurt Dog. I'm Who You With Kurt Dog with Miss Risky. We are in the process of finishing up our last show of the year. Um, for the show, we will be back next year. Um, what date did we say? January
20th.
20th?
Yeah,
January 20th was
because
it?
you didn't want to wait until February.
Well, we could do February, but if we could,
No, you already have the itch. You're like, oh, that far?
you, wait a
But
minute,
we
you
need
said
but we
that.
need time to recuperate and get some stuff together, um, and just get it together because this takes a lot. So
Yeah.
we need a little break.
Well, the 20th is a Wednesday, so the 21st is a Thursday.
Yeah, that is one
We'll
of
do the
those.
21st, January
All right.
21st. We will be back. Um, but overall, I'm excited about the things we're doing with the show, what we have done with it. This is about to be going into our third year doing this show, which is great. Now we're in position. We have a lot of new things coming up this year. We're going to try to do
We're
more
gonna try to
things,
do a lot more giveaways, but we need a lot more followers and
participation.
subscribers on all
Exactly.
forums.
Exactly. Matter of
Help
fact,
us help you.
I was looking earlier. Hopefully, when we come back, I will be able to go live on TikTok. But I was looking earlier, and I'm almost at that number. Um, Let me see. I know you sending me a message. Uh, I'm almost at that number, so definitely follow us. Too late. But follow us on all social media. You can follow Miss Risky if you have ideas. Just like someone sent their message saying, "Hey, y'all need to do a story on that author of that book. Uh, what was it, Lucky Bone? You said,
My lovely bones and Lucky.
yeah. So you can follow her on social media at Risky Books uh, at Yahoo, right?
No.
Oh, well, give out your information
So,
then.
like, I was like, no. So you can go to the page where my works are, riskybooks.com, or you can send me a message on Yahoo, rskee at yahoo.com. I'm also on social media, TikTok, trying to do more videos, and that's again rskee. Go to my Instagram page at Risky and send a comment, follow me, and put hashtag speak on it so you can be entered into into this end of year contest. I'll probably give away some books, so you have a few T-shirts. It'll be a variety of things, so somebody can get something, like even pins of my book and things like that. Of course, cash is always appreciated. So yeah, I think that's all of them. Yeah,
I'm gonna say this, Marcel. I mean,
not
anybody
Marcellus.
that anybody that wanna bless Miss Risky for Christmas, hit a cash app up.
Yeah,
Maybe
and then pre-birthday money because my birthday's coming up in February, so you can
uh,
prepare and save for that. I'll be
exactly.
taking drink money. So if all of our fans just bless me with $5, my cash app, we can get turned up.
Exactly. It ain't a party like Miss Risky party. I'm gonna just say that.
Listen,
But definitely, if you feel the need to bless her, because she do a lot of things behind the scene. Uh, Make a cash app, say ching ching, ding,
yeah.
yeah, make it ring or something. At $ risky RSKEE books. It's a cash app, so definitely be a blessing to her. Um, I appreciate Miss Risky for the simple fact that this past year had been a struggle for me in my personal life, and even today, um, it been a struggle because our work schedule had changed quite a bit. So if you like what she doing, definitely hit her pockets up. Hit her pocket up. Show us some love. Show us some
Yeah.
love. And
I mean, 'tis the season.
exactly.
Is
Exactly.
that working?
So and then whoever wins, we're gonna have to mail these out.
Yes.
So mm,
And like I
y'all can hit
said,
up the show. Will you pay for the shipping? Donate to the shipping.
now if we get some really good, followings and subscribers, we'll up the the prize pool a little bit more.
You
But
know
right
what?
now,
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out on a limb. What you want to say? If we get, I'm gonna send you a message first
yeah,
before I
send me a
put it out
message.
there.
Well, I mean, we don't have to figure it out. I mean, this is something we'll plan for the next shows so we can do more prize giveaways because we're not going to determine it right now. So, um, no.
No. Well, I said
So
we, but
we'll figure out some things. Like we have a long break to figure things out. So we'll do that then. We'll work out some
okay.
tiers and things like that
See,
because that's something we need to really work out a plan.
yeah, that's why I say Miss Risky. She runs the show. She runs the show because I
I
run
try
something
because
by.
he be over there and I'm like, gotta pull him back.
She be like, no. I'll be like, wait a minute, you're not my wife. I don't care, but no. I'm speaking for your wife right now. So, but it's all
Oh
good.
yeah.
Um, Other than that, please follow us on all social media. Um, and we're still going to be monitoring everything. So definitely reach out to us. Um,
Oh yeah.
for
I forgot one more thing. I
okay,
did finally set up an OnlyFans.
Marcellus, Marcellus.
It's not that impressive,
Now let him subscribe first.
but I
Then
think I have a plan of action. I just need to do more of it and see where it goes.
well,
At RSKE.
RSKE, OnlyFans, risky. Enter at your own risk. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you, T Cal. We love you too. Um, it's gonna be hard not to come on here, but we will replay shows, do reruns. So definitely support those. Please put on there hashtag speak on it. For you could be entered into the drawing. You will love these prizes, and then we'll go from there. Um, any final words for you, Miss Risky?
No, that's it. Just
Um,
follow us and help us keep this show going.
exactly. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for the 2+ years. Getting ready to go into our third year in March. Want to thank y'all for rolling with your boy uh, through some good time and bad times. During these times, some of these stories that we cover, we talk about them, but it can also weigh on us too, because we do deal with a lot of stories a lot of people don't talk about. The killing of an unarmed black man or woman, because it could be us. And some of the comments I receive because of some of the shows we do, it can be stressful. But we want to tell everybody we appreciate y'all. We thank y'all for rolling with us, sticking by our side, during a good time and bad times. And also, we want to pray that you and your family have a wonderful Christmas and a better New Year. Uh, Even now, with this virus continue to spread, please be safe. Be safe. Um, Enjoy yourself during this break, as we will, but we also have to recharge our batteries up because we are drained. But we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Until January 21st. Um, I can remember that because that's my big sister's birthday. So January 21st, we will be back. We love each and every one of you. Until then.